It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again, time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 265. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Ashgar.
Hi.
Grace.
Lolly-ho.
Kodra.
Hello.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Soylent Green is zombies that used to be people.
Also, this episode we have a special guest, and I think Shiana has technically been in the channel before while we recorded a show, but just didn't say anything.
It's true. I was here that one time.
Just lurking.
I'm good at that.
So we have finally gotten everybody through the main story of Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. And as we had said before, we were largely putting it off until we were ready to do a spoiler show that everyone could participate in. And that's this week. So, yeah.
So, yes, spoilers from basically the word go.
Yeah,
if you
so
haven't gotten this far, we're sorry, and we will see you next week.
Yep, pretty much.
Like, in theory, we'll probably go mostly in order, but no promises.
I mean, it's okay, so I would love to say that we would go in order, but I also know how we've done these shows before, and there's a lot of leaping back and forth. Like, we'll get to a point, and then we'll derail, and it's like, oh we forgot this! So,
yes,
we've already talked a little bit about the Shadowbringers content, and I feel like maybe since it's been a while since we recorded that show, that we just kind of start over from the beginning.
Sure.
Basically, throughout the tail end of the last expansion's content, our friends were disappearing, and they were going into comas.
Yeah, some voice kept showing up in our head, like, throw wide the gate, and then one of our friends would pass out and be brain dead.
With, like, no recognizable trace of their ether.
And I'll be honest, as setups for expansions went, this was not the one that I was, like, super amped about at first.
I was largely clueless.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't quite the setup for Heavensward, for example.
I mean, it sure wasn't the setup for Heavensward, but it also wasn't the setup for Stormblood either.
Mm-hmm.
The setup for Stormblood was a gut punch.
I mean, but I heard the basic idea. My immediate thought was, it's Burning Crusade. Time to go to another planet.
I mean,
another star.
So I don't think that that's a bad example. Like, I feel like Shadowbringers is basically how Final Fantasy XIV does Burning Crusade. Like, it's their take on let's go explore another world.
But where Burning Crusade failed to stick the landing, Shadowbringers totally did.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, so this is sort of tangent number one, first tangent of the night. Like, this game is much better at telling a coherent story thanks to the presence of the main story quest.
Yeah.
And, like, WoW doesn't have a main story quest, or at least when I was playing it didn't have one, and people do direct.
And to be truthful, like, I've recently gone back to World of Warcraft to try and catch up on some stuff, and that is my number one frustration is there's no clear main story you can follow. Because, like, I
wish
care
there was
about any of the extraneous shit. I just want to catch up on the story. Like, and sure, there's kind of a way to do that, but, like, it's not clear. I love that there's a unique icon with the little fireball download on it to tell me, that's going to be the main story. And I love the little blue icon or purple or whatever color it is to tell me this is a thing that unlocks content. So that all of the sea of exclamation points can largely just move on until I'm ready to touch them. Because I can focus on the two things that really matter. The unlocks and the main story.
But I guess this circles back because while structurally, like, you can say, these are two expansions in which you go explore a alien world to the one that you are used to, they are very different. Like, because of that main story quest, I would say the core theme of this world is sort of like disaster recovery mode. Like, that's the most important theme I think the story is sort of getting at here is like, overarching something terrible's happened and it's up to you to fix it, and like the world is wrong.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's ultimately a post-apocalyptic story, just a different kind of post-apocalyptic story. Like, a thing happened, and the world went to the brink of destruction, and was saved at the 11th hour in a manner that no one actually understands.
Yeah. And it's been 100 years since then, and the world has basically been slowly dying ever since.
Yeah.
Because it stopped the big thing that was happening, but most of the world was destroyed by that point, and the balance had already tipped, and it's just been a slow slide ever since. And we're here to see if we can arrest that slide and maybe save the world, because if this world dies, so does ours.
I mean, in a lot of ways, it reminded me of Chrono Trigger when you go into the future and everything's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, that we're in that world. Like, everything is horrible.
And you are immediately introduced to the most suspicious character possible.
Yeah, this dude with a crystal hand wearing a hooded cloak over his eyes that won't tell you his name.
Or where he's from, and everyone else like knows not to ask about where he's from.
Well, and I mean, prior to that, though, you're introduced to basically the same person that you met in the intro quest of A Realm Reborn.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a very brief amount of time.
Yeah.
Kill this
Well, that's
person
the
to
point.
let you know that things are serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, because in A Realm Reborn, we had a nice chat with him, and he gave us a ring, and we went on our way. Here, we have a nice chat with him. We notice he has a really awesome ring, and then later we kill a monster, and it's got a hand in its gut with a really nice ring on it.
Sad times.
Yeah. I feel like there's a couple more things from before the expansion even started that we need to mention,
Sure.
just because they matter. One, things that we know going into this expansion, other than some dude keeps talking to us in our head and destroying our friends' brains. We also know that there have been a number of cataclysms over the course of history, and every one of them is associated with a particular element. And when a cataclysm happens, one of the other worlds, because we're on the Prime World and there's other basically reflections, one of them rejoins with the Prime World. Third thing, the Garlean Empire experimented with awful, awful chemical weapons years ago, and we totally destroyed the last little bit of it that was hidden somewhere early on in Stormblood, except, wait, no, towards the end of Stormblood, Alpha Node's running around with this dude that kills Ascians that, turns out to be Gaius, and they find a bunch of dead people that were killed by this horrible chemical weapon. It's called the Black Rose. It turns out to be a big deal.
I honestly don't remember us dealing with the Black Rose prior to that point. Was that like some main story quest I kind of overlooked?
Probably. It was in the fringes. So,
Early
it
in
was
the fringes?
very early on.
Yeah, I only just... It was a bunch of side quests. I only just did them because I was leveling up characters in that area, and after I had leveled through this expansion and was like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
this is...
That's right, it was
actually-
side quests. It was
I
side
wish I-
quests and then the Beast Tribe quests for the Automata.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't the alchemist guy that we fought in whatever Castrum or whatever that was that dungeon. Wasn't that the guy behind the Black Rose? The guy that rides around on the weird floating chair thing?
He was behind a lot of things, but I didn't think that was one of them.
Yeah, he was behind...
He was mostly
the
behind the
whole-
Resonant.
Yeah, he was behind the whole fake Echo thing.
Okay.
Yeah, because at the point that we dealt with the Black Rose early on, like, the whole thing was that, like, the guy who had invented it, like, basically his mind broke, and he couldn't even remember who he was. And, like, he had buried one last sample, and we had to go find it and destroy it. And we did. And so everything was fine, but it wasn't actually the last sample.
Well, and, like, at some point, I don't know when, but we find out that Gaius was willing to do a lot of things, but wanted no part of the Black Rose. Like, that was a step too far.
It seems like
Gaius.
he has some royal agreement on that one.
Gaius may not have been the best of individuals, but he did at least have something for honorable combat or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, he continued to fight us with Ultima Weapon after seeing what it did. So
It's true.
I'm gonna give him a C plus at best.
I mean, that was his I listened to the wrong people moment.
Yeah, but
A lot of characters over the course of this game have had that moment.
Yeah, but he didn't stop fighting us at that moment.
It's true.
Well, but he also largely disappeared after that moment. Because we didn't hear anything more from him until he showed back up in Stormblood, right?
Well, that's because we thought he was dead.
Yeah, we assumed he was dead. Everything got blowed up real good there.
I mean, nobody with that cool armor can ever fully die.
I'm pretty
think
sure
that's
that
how
at least
works.
2 of the people in that cool armor died.
His was cooler, though.
Is it because it turned gold?
Yeah.
It's because
Yeah.
it turned gold, isn't it?
He
because
went
it turned
Super
gold.
Saiyan.
Having done a lot of main story roulette, that whole sequence is just all the more comical now. I can't not hear Dracula from Castlevania Symphony of the Night when he goes off on that.
But yeah, a lot of I don't know. I'm kind of with Tam. The buildup was not the ooh, I have to play this game now for me. Like it was with the Heavens Ward and the Stormblood.
Here is a huge, gigantic problem, and you need to solve this now.
Mm-hmm.
It's more, this is a sort of existential problem. You should think about doing something about it.
It's also a very personal problem because finally, boom, now you're gone too. It is kind of lonely as all of your friends start going away, and it just becomes you at the end.
It's you and Tataru and Kryl, but she's still off hanging around on Eureka, so you never see her.
Yeah, it feels really miserable.
It gets kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Because you know that it's coming for you next, whatever it is. And in the meantime, everybody's really sad.
Yeah, because it's very clear that whatever this thing is, it's trying to get you. And it keeps missing. And sure enough, it turns out that's exactly what was going on. And he's really apologetic about it. But it doesn't change the fact that your friends have, been here for, in their time, between 1 and 5 years, hanging out in a post-apocalyptic wasteland.
It's not great.
Quasi-wasteland. Because, time passes differently.
Yeah, that's one of the big things, is time passes differently in this world. Although, so that the game world doesn't make zero sense, they say that while you're there, it seems like it's syncing up quite nicely.
Yeah, it's not
How convenient.
Yeah, it's not a constant this many years equals this many, and now it's 1-to-1.
It's because we're a primal. Just saying.
No, we're provably not. By the end of this,
It's true. We are provably not.
That was definitely one of the theories. That theory is almost certainly
The
wrong.
theory is probably incorrect.
We're something even bigger.
Something even worse.
So, I do want to say, the first 2 zones are great because they take what I would say are 2 one pretty well loved. Alisei is a mostly pretty well loved character. Alphino.
No one loves Alphino.
No one loves Alphino.
Hey.
Alphino gets a moment to really shine, and you really get to like Alphino in his zone, where you and him are basically trying to make it into the city of the rich fat cats who are using their money to write out the end of the world in luxury.
Yeah, basically they've decided the world is ending, nothing can be done about it, but we can be comfortable here until that happens.
It's the city of, even before we know exactly how bad it is, we still want to burn it to the ground.
Yeah, I know. It's horrible.
And then they keep making it worse every single time you find more things out about it.
But during the sequence of quests, you start to wonder, are they mildly altruistic? Because every time the people come to find new people, they bring them food.
No, no one thinks they're mildly altruistic.
Yeah.
No one thinks that.
No players think that.
Yeah.
Right, sure.
Well, that goes away real quick when you start finding out that nobody ever leaves.
Because basically there are 2 ways to get into this city, and one of them is to be insanely rich, and all those people are already there. The other way is to be able to do something that one of the rich people wants, in which case they basically sponsor you and you serve them until they decide they don't need you anymore, and then...
I mean, not entirely unlike the Renaissance.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot.
Patronage was a thing.
Patronage was a thing, but I don't know that the fate of these people, like, I don't know if anything in the Renaissance could compare.
Something, Soylent Green.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and you roll up there, you go through a lot of effort to get in because Alphino is doing Alphino things.
Yeah, he's basically trying to be diplomatic, and
He wants to
takes
be
the most
diplomatic
political-
with the people who he thinks are in power.
yeah, because basically until about 20 or 30 years ago, this city like had the biggest army and was leading the fight against the Sin Eaters, which are basically zombies, but they're zombies in the forms of like angels and heavenly things.
The light is not good.
Yeah,
is the theme of this expansion, and I'm here for it, by the way.
and so they used to basically lead the fight against these things until they decided, nope, we're just going to give up and not fight them anymore and ride out the remainder of the world's lifespan in comfort. And so Alphino wants to try and basically convince them to help fight again because, you know, we've got a plan and we're going to try and like do some stuff.
Get all of the nations together.
Yeah.
Alphino is Alphinoing.
It's like he wants to believe that people are good and that if he can just get through to them, he can convince them to do the right thing.
He wants the diplomacy solution. Because he always wants the diplomacy solution.
But once he discovers exactly what the leadership of this place is like, and how they've basically said, oh, well, we've got the Sin Eaters under our control, and so we're not going to bother, and also if you attack the Sin Eaters, we're going to be enemies.
We throw people off the side of our place, and
Mhm.
we think that's fine.
And then throw tantrums about it.
He decides that, oh yeah, maybe this isn't worth trying that anymore.
Which is point one of me being in this expansion like, this is a brand new Alphino that I like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like, he was the only one willing to stand up to Vothri, which is the lord of this city, Yulmore.
And, like, doesn't mess around with standing up to him. He's like, no, what you're doing is absolutely unacceptable, and I will oppose you. And it's like, that's a new tune from Mr. Diplomacy at all costs.
Yeah, and just turns and walks out while Valkyrie pitches a fit.
Yeah, that was a great scene.
Yeah.
It was a great scene.
But so that happens over in one of the first zones, and then the other one you're with Alice, and that's where you get to see like the true horror of the Sin Eaters and how they come to be, because they're basically zombies. Like, people get turned into them, which is part of why the world is slowly dying, is because, you know, people get turned into Sin Eaters. So there's fewer and fewer people and more Sin Eaters, and eventually they'll just overwhelm everybody and game over.
Well, and it's worse than just that, because, like, if you get wounded at all in battle, you will slowly turn into a Sin Eater.
Like, it seems like that's only when fighting some of the really powerful ones. It's because, like, the lesser ones don't necessarily cause that, but the larger ones absolutely do.
Yeah, there's a bit where they're talking about, like, the likelihood of it happening, and part of the reason they're not sure about the people in the place that they're, like, protecting, they're not sure how many of them are actually going to turn because it's not, like, a given.
Yeah, like, once it starts, then, you know, you see it starting, like, their skin starts to turn white and harden, and, you know, at that point, you know, yeah, they're gonna turn. Although in some cases it happens a lot more suddenly, like when we get to see it happen, and it's utterly horrifying.
It's pretty awful.
Yeah, like, this game is good at horrible moments that, like, really drive home the theme, because you spend all this time, you know, working with this friend of Alice, only to see her turned into a Sin Eater, and then have to face her in the very first dungeon of the expansion.
Yeah, that's the worst part, right? Bad enough that you have to go through, like, meeting this person, seeing her take care of other people, and
how,
then
like, genuinely
watch her
nice she is.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Then
how
watch her
excited
get
she
turned.
is that this friend of Alice's, that because Alice has clearly been talking you up to this person for quite a while, and that, like, if we ever show up, that, like, maybe we can change things, maybe we can help, and she's clearly, like, she's real excited about this.
Yeah, and it's so, like, the whole story is so tragic because, like, you find out that she's basically lived her entire life at this refuge for when people start to turn. Like, it happened to her mother, and she just stayed on after her mother turned. So, like, her entire life has been taking care of these people.
But yeah, and then, sorry, Grace, you face her in the first dungeon, like you were saying.
Yeah, that's a huge... That's one of the biggest gut punches in a dungeon. And walking in there and seeing, like, oh, that's the boss.
The escalation from, like, oh, they're getting very serious very quickly is so apparent in that first dungeon. Because it's like, okay.
First boss. The major sin eater that turned her.
Yeah. It's like, first boss, the major sin eater. Huh. That's bigger than I would have expected for just the start of this. And then the second boss is her, and you're like, oh, wow, this is just awful. And you get to the third boss, and you're like, wow, that thing's legit terrifying. They've been, like, pulling their punches on distressing Sin Eater designs up to this point, as it turns out.
Yeah, and especially if you play it in a trust, because the trust that you're, the people that you're running the dungeon with in that case include Alice. Like, she definitely reacts to seeing this person again, and also to this person's death. And the Sin Eater has, like, a custom death animation.
I kind of wish I had played through these dungeons the first time using the trust, because I think there's a whole lot of moments that would have been more powerful had I done it with NPC backing. Which I know is a weird thing to say, because, like, this is a game where you play with your friends, but, like, there are so many story elements that play out during a trust that I didn't experience until I started re-leveling the trust.
Yeah, because I was relatively far ahead, I was doing a lot of the stuff in trusts. Like, the first run was in a trust, and I'm really glad I did, because there was a bunch of story stuff that I just got. And it lent context to a couple of a number of character relationships that I wouldn't have otherwise gotten as well.
Yeah.
Like, seeing all of the stuff that Thancred says to Miniphilia throughout the dungeons, like, and that they say to each other, is like, oh, huh, that's interesting and not what I would have expected, because, like, Thancred's a giant dick for a huge amount of this expansion.
Yeah, it really helps to kind of flesh out, especially their relationship.
I wish we had a little bit more story on that first dungeon myself, because that last boss has a name. It's, what was it, Philia? And that boss has an ability called Scavenger's Daughter, so what's going on there?
Yeah.
All of the boss attack names are torture devices.
Uh-huh.
All of the Light Wardens are names of Greek forms of love. You can get a little bit more about them. You get their triple triad cards.
Oh,
huh.
I wonder if that boss is... Well, no, surely they would have... Like, at the little camp, they basically kill someone before they turn, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it shouldn't have been... It shouldn't have been her mom.
No.
But yeah, that first boss is just absolutely horrifying, and it's like, oh, so that's the direction we're going. And I think the design of that dungeon, more than anything, shows the level of devastation, because, like, everywhere you turn, there are these creepy white versions of things. Like the livestock, the other people.
Yeah, the game definitely does a really good job with its all-white monster aesthetic.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
And it's pretty much after we get back out of that first sequence, when we go back to our in-room, that we're introduced to the Warrior of Darkness again.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, the end of that dungeon is where we finally get to have some hope.
Yes.
Because up to this point, it's just been like, this world is awful and everything is terrible, and what have we gotten into here?
Like, this is nothing we do is going to be enough. And then we bring back the night in one of my
such an awesome scene.
One of my favorite cutscenes I've seen in a while. Like, there's a lot of cool techniques that they have introduced to their cutscenes in this. Like, it's still mostly all in engine, but they just are playing really, really interestingly with the camera angles and the different camera usages you've got. And like watching like this big line of black energy go up into the like pale white sky and then sort of part the seas into a starry black night is really sweet.
It's so cool.
Yeah, because the entire world has been in just 24-hour a day light for 100 years.
Not like natural looking light.
Yeah, it's not daylight. It's just light.
Yeah, that the difference between day and light is really stark. Like way more stark than I would have guessed.
It's like everything is oversaturated and like the shadows way deeper than they should be. It's like everything has a burn filter applied to it.
Yeah, when you're in a zone that is under this like never-ending light, everything just looks a little wrong.
Well, and the sky isn't blue. It's kind of a sickly, pale yellow color.
But yes, you do get to meet the Warrior of Darkness in your inn room, who is haunting you.
Yeah, he's a ghost.
We're extremely haunted.
And at what point do we find out about the Oracle of Light?
I mean, I'm pretty sure she's been mentioned by this point.
Yeah, I think she's been mentioned. Like, we sent Minfilia here a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know what she's been up to, but we do discover that she is the reason why when 100 years ago when the rejoining should have happened, it got stopped.
Yeah, because basically the warriors of light from this world came to our world because they listened to the wrong person. Because they thought that by coming to our world and speeding up the rejoining, that would like at least be better than the state of their world at that point.
Thought that it would save their world. That's actually the opposite of what would happen, but
yeah,
listen to the wrong people.
Yeah, and so they ended up being sent back with Minfilia. All the rest of them, except for Ardbert, the warrior of light / darkness, whatever, have moved on. Like, they're not around anymore. Ardbert, for some reason, is hanging around haunting us. He's not sure why this is.
And, like, not able to, like, move around, but not able to interact or be heard by anybody. And has been going, like, kind of nuts.
Like, he's really down and cynical, and, I mean, reasonably so.
Ardbert has some incredible voice acting. Like, voice acting throughout this expansion is so good. Ardbert gets some of the best. And he already had some of the best from, like, Heavensward.
It is amusing because we were always like, oh, hey, it's the guy who's the prototypical, like, main character. I guess this is who we've been, like, watching all of this time.
The Darplander.
And it's like, no, as we discover, this is just, he is a completely different character than that character. That character is supposed to be us and all of those things.
Right,
yes.
Which was super confusing when we first ran into them.
It was super confusing up until the point that everything made sense at the end of this.
Yeah. But, so of note, like you said, none of the other Warriors of Light or Warriors of Darkness, whichever way you want to call it, are around. It's not just that they're not around at this point. They're all really powerful mega sin eaters.
Like their bodies have turned into sin eaters.
But they're like sin eaters with more purpose than the average sin eater.
Yeah, because they left their bodies behind.
Yeah.
They're in fact class quest or role quest level.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I was so skeptical about those role quests, and I'm so glad I did them. I've done all 5 of them. Of them, only one of them I found to be like kind of
I'm not a big fan of the physical DPS one so far.
That's the one.
That's the one I finished it, but like, I could have done without that one. Like the tank one was amazing.
Yeah.
All of these sin eaters they've become are referred to as the cardinal virtues, and the quests actually revolve around those same virtues, as it turns out.
Yeah.
The healer one is about temperance, and stars a dwarf who is
not. I love
temperate.
That quest is so great.
The physical DPS one is courage, and therefore that's why your quest giver is so annoying, because he is a complete coward.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yep.
I was wondering why I was like wanting to smack him upside the head.
So is the tank loyalty then?
I don't remember what the tank one is.
That would be the thing that would make sense. Or love, actually. That also makes sense.
I think it's forgiveness.
I mean, the 4 are prudence, temperance, fortitude, and justice.
Oh, it's justice.
I think it's justice. Yeah.
So dude who is obsessed with vengeance is therefore, your quest giver for that one.
Yep.
Yep, and then the caster DPS one is prudence, and he is very imprudent. But yeah, basically each of the other warriors of light, like, their bodies have become sin eaters, and each of them is like wandering around doing a thing. Like, not attacking people the way a normal sin eater would, but like the tank one, the one that used to be the paladin, like, specifically seems to specifically be hunting people who found these particular pieces of jewelry. The healer one just wanders around resurrecting other sin eaters. The caster one just wanders around opening black holes for some reason.
Yeah. And I love the way that those quests are used to showcase stuff that went on in the world before you got there.
Mm-hmm.
Both what the world was like, because yikes, and also like what these characters were like, because you don't really get a lot of face time with them.
Yeah. Like, we got to meet them the one time before they died, and it was to fight them.
I mean, we know that the white mage was really thirsty.
We only know that because of the lore book.
It's true.
I mean, she's a dwarf.
But like...
Oh, that kind of thirsty.
So
that thirsty.
Yes, that kind of thirsty.
But yeah, they took advantage of the echo to, like, let us see what this world was before it was terrible.
I like how much... I incidentally really like how much of this expansion is like, yeah, so you've got the echo and, like, honestly, kind of annoying most of the time.
Right. Like, that's my favorite part about the DPS quest, is the dude gets mad at you because he thinks you're purposefully going into the echo, because you're always doing it at the wrong time.
Yeah, he's basically just like, why do you keep spacing out?
It's not like I have a choice, man.
But I always like, okay, yes, this is the thing that makes you special, but also it's not like all happiness and light.
Well, I mean, it's the entire reason why we're here and everyone else got sucked into it is basically because of the echo, right? Like, the echo was the thing that allowed Crystal Dude that we haven't talked much about to, like, find us.
The Crystal Exarch.
Yes. Was it? Not entirely clear how he was able to specifically track us.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we know he was specifically looking for us, and it took a while, and he kept grabbing the wrong person, but...
It was just his unceasing thirst.
Well...
Yeah, I just assumed it was because, he read all the stories about how awesome we were, and possibly knew us, depending on whether you did that quest.
I mean, that's kind of who I assumed it was, but I couldn't remember what the hell his name was. and I feel horrible that I just absolutely could not remember his name. It's just like, that one dude with the weird eye.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little amused because you can ask him about it in the very start of the quest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
His response is something like, "We did not find a person of that name in the tower."
Yep.
Like, really?
He's not a great liar. Like, he's exactly as good enough a liar as he needs to be, but no more, which makes him not actually a super great liar.
Yeah, no, he lets Urianji carry the weight on the lying part.
Yes, seriously.
So,
because he's got a lot of practice.
Another, like, weird thing that seems totally non sequitur when it happens is, in order for us to access our retainers and our mail, we have to basically bind ourselves to one of the Fae.
We have to make a terrible, terrible choice.
Yeah, that's just a terrible idea. Even before you know anything else about this world, just straight up, let's make a pact with Fae.
Yeah, no. First of all,
what could go wrong?
Everything I've ever read in literature has told me this is a bad idea.
Seriously.
Because we're not bound to enough terrifying eldritch beings by this point.
But, it's fine or whatever.
Also, your gill is good here, so yay for that.
Yep.
Also, our tombstones.
Mm-hmm.
They found some in the tower or something.
Yeah. Yeah, they basically explain it by like, yeah, there were these things in the Crystal Tower, and we thought they were cool. So, yeah, we use them now. Whatever.
I absolutely love the totally unsubtle, like, facial expression that you have.
Oh, the reaction to the tombstones?
The reaction to the tombstones. Like,
it's just like an iPhone store.
The amount of self-awareness that your character has is great. Or, like, genre savviness that your character suddenly has developed.
Yeah. Just like oh god, these things again. But yeah, so you bind yourself to a Fae, and it's great. And it means that you can get to your stuff that's back on the Prime Plane, which is awesome. And it also means you can sell stuff from here on the Prime Plane, which is concerning.
Details.
But whatever.
It also
We're
means
not
that
economists.
they could tell, like, Tataru that you weren't dead.
That part is nice. And Tataru
Or Cryo,
very much
your choice. The correct choice is
Tataru
Tataru.
very much appreciates that you've done this.
Yes. But all of this comes into play because the next place that you have to go is the fairy kingdom of Ilmeg.
Also, the reason you have to go there is because by defeating the thing at the end of the first dungeon, you pissed off Yulmore. And Rothri sends the head of his military, who is this, like, crazy monk dude, to come kick your ass.
Do we ever get any explanation of why he is so ridiculous?
No, we do not.
No, and like he seems like a sin eater. Like he's got the weird pale skin. He has crazy powers, but like he's not mindless.
He's got this weird like dragon thing that he's bound to. I don't know. Like maybe this is just what monks eventually become when they get good enough at monking. I don't know.
He's
the one
he's
monk
the
from
hint of the what's this called? He's the upcoming hint about Beastmaster.
Well, okay, so actually,
maybe he's Curlfist, like just
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like he does all those things during that fight.
Yeah, but with curls. So this guy's like, yeah, I've got a dragon thing. Same deal though. I'm just that badass. But no, there's never any explanation whatsoever. He's just this horrifying, unbeatable dude that keeps on chasing you.
He's the Terminator.
And he chases you into Ilmeg.
Incidentally, he is one of the things. Here's one of the parts of the expansion that I liked the least. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that was cool, but I feel like when they did that thing with him with Xenos, it made sense narratively, but didn't so much with him.
I am kind of hoping that we'll like find out more about him and his relation to the Minfilias.
I mean, this is a game that never forgets anybody, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, so that's a thing that is brought up, that prior to whatever happened that we haven't gotten to yet, he was the leader of the armies and also responsible for training the Minfilias.
Yes, and sending them to their deaths.
Yeah.
And he clearly has issues from this.
Seriously, yes.
Like, the implication by the end is that basically he's given up any hope that the Sin Eaters can be stopped. He feels an incredible amount of guilt for the multiple young women he sent to their dooms for no good reason, because the Sin Eaters can't be stopped. And all that is left for him is to basically try and rescue Minfilia from these people that are going to take her to her doom, because the Sin Eaters can't be stopped. And I really want to see if that is what if I'm in fact reading that right, and just more of his background.
I mean, he's dead by the end of it, so.
Oh yeah, but we've
seems
got
less likely.
Echo.
Yeah.
And I mean, presumably Minfilia grew up around this dude, so she might want to talk to us about him. I don't know.
Like we've kind of become like the shoulder that she leans on during the story, so like I could see that happening.
Urianger.
Well, better than Urianger and better than Thancred. Like, we're at least sympathetic.
I mean, I think by the end, Thancred has mostly worked through his issues. We'll see.
I mean, so another part of going to Ilmeg is that we're going to go meet Urianger. Urianger is the worst.
Can we leave him behind there when we all end up going back home?
I am impressed
at
how he was able to get the fairies to make tea and clean his house and all that stuff.
Because like recognizes like.
By lying. He did it by lying to them.
Yeah, he sure did. You may wonder, listener, why there's such searing distaste for Urianger. Because Urianger sucks.
Urianger has lied to us consistently.
For no reason. No reason.
Yeah, no, it's always because he believes this needs to happen and I can't trust the Warrior of Light to go along with it.
Despite the fact that that's literally the only thing we do, is go along with other people's terrible-ass plans.
We never say no to anyone. Why would we say no to him?
Like, all we get to usually say is ... Like, that's the most. Although this expansion has given us...
This expansion gave us a lot of lines, though.
It's true.
Yeah, this expansion has given us the ability to give lots of people lip about things.
I'm here for it.
But this expansion also has quests that specifically talk about how you can't say no to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
The level of self-awareness in the dialogue is so great.
Well, it's hilarious. Like, they all talk about how, they've heard we're this person that can't say no to anything, which is like, how fast does word get around?
Very.
I mean, your friends have been talking about you for, as much as 5 years in this world. So, it's like, yeah, I've got this friend who's a total badass, and he'll do absolutely anything you ask him to. It's great.
So, in Ilmeg, we find out that the ruler of the Fae has been turned into the next Sin Eater that we need to take down to restore the darkness.
Basically, there are a number of extremely powerful Sin Eaters called Light Wardens, and they're the ones that maintain the never-ending light and actually spawn new Sin Eaters and stuff like that. So if we can get rid of all of them, the world will presumably be saved. The problem in the past has always been that if you kill a Light Warden, then the light enters the nearest living thing and they become a new Light Warden. But we've got Heidelin's Blessing of Light, so we're protected from that. It's great.
Off.
But yeah, King Titania is the Light Warden of Ilmeg and is locked away in their castle because when this happened, all the fairies were like, nope, we need to lock them away where they can't do any more harm than they already have, and hide the things necessary to unlock the castle.
And they all seemingly just grabbed a random item when they did the binding ceremony.
I really love Ilmeg. It hits the perfect Fae balance of incredibly creepy, but you run into the new Mo, and you're like, oh hey, it's actually kind of nice for once to show up and have people be happy to see us.
But then it goes real creepy real fast.
Well, and it's mostly fine, but then you deal with what's this called? But then they have the line at the very end of this whole thing you've been doing. That's, oh, we're so glad that you've enjoyed your time here. Maybe you could stay forever. and oh no, don't forget.
Still Fae.
They're still
Fae.
We hope you will continue to give us your patronage. Also, there's one side quest with them that at the end you have the option to try and basically you are going to buy something from the new Mo, and you have the option to give him either more or less than you initially agreed on, or to just give him what you agreed on. If you do not give him exactly what you agreed on, he starts to lose his shit.
Yeah.
If you try to pay more, that is an insult. If you try to pay less, that obviously is too. But yeah, they are very much, a deal was struck, you obey the letter of the deal. No more, no less.
I mean, they're the best of the worst.
Yeah, they're not trying to drown you to turn you into more of them, so there's that.
They are not actively trying to kill you or trap you forever.
Or turn you into bushes.
I mean, they're cute bushes, though. I mean, just saying.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, I mean,
actually, the best of the lot are the camel birds that have learned to talk.
Yeah.
Because they're just great.
They're mostly honorary Fae.
Yeah, and I love the connection between them and the Lord's Quest in Shadowbringers, because they learn to talk after 100 years, which is how long it takes an animal back in Doma to gain the ability to talk.
Oh.
So presumably, if one of those camel birds lives 1,000 years, it's going to effectively become a Great Lord.
Oh wow! I didn't catch that. That's cool. They have so many great details.
But yeah, so basically, you're wandering all over of Ilmeg trying to recover the 4 items you need to unlock the castle, each of which is held by one of the types of Fae. The dungeon is dealing with the Water Fae, who want to drown you so that you will become one of them. And in fact, they succeed.
Oh.
But they don't know that you have the blessing of the turtle people.
Yeah, they're utterly confused by the fact that we can breathe underwater.
But
yeah.
I mean, so is everybody else.
It's fair.
I mean, Alice knows what's going on, but yeah.
I love that. I love that it would be so easy for them to just be like, nah, this is actually a real threat because you actually have to worry about it. But no. They're not going to forget that this thing happened like
the start of last expansion.
At the start of last expansion. No.
But yeah, this definitely felt like the expansion where multiple times we would be dead or like horribly transformed if not for a seemingly of something completely unrelated that occurred previously.
Yeah, we just happen to have the right power. And it makes sense that we have this thing because it came up before, and at the same time, we also just have the answer because of our previous experiences.
Because we make friends. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. You know, our making friends over the years has led to us.
Well, and it definitely feels like
stuff.
This is an expansion where it feels like everything to this point has been leading to this. Whether that's intentional, and they really have been leading to this all this time, or they're just really good at picking up loose plot points and crafting something brand new to fit them. I don't care. Like, I'm fine with either answer.
Yoshi P already spilled the beans on this one. They hadn't quite been planning it that long.
But yeah, like it is a seamless connection that pays off all of these things from previous expansions.
I will say, like, Ilmeg is probably my least favorite zone of this expansion. It was, I think the Fae, the creepiness of the Fae was neat, but it was not really doing it for me.
It sort of meanders.
Yeah.
Which is somewhat appropriate for a zone of Fae, but yeah.
So, once we've turned off the lights in another zone, we go back to the Crystal Palace again, and
well, first of all, we
get to go to sleep again.
Once again, our bacon is saved by a seemingly unimportant choice that we made, because
if you kill the King of the Fae,
you become the new King of the Fae and have to stay. But we're bound to a Fae who can take that on in our place. So we lucked out there.
And we'll still continue to run errands for you because they're Fae and it seems funny.
Yeah, apparently they can do the same. Well, apparently they can do the same thing Midgard-Sormr does, where they basically just like break off a piece of themselves to continue being the little version of them, while the rest of them is off being big and mighty.
Which makes me wonder: did the dragon? Are the dragon basically the Fae of our world?
It's interesting to note that the first doesn't have dragons.
Yeah,
there's no.
I mean, the dragons are from space, so
yeah, exactly.
The dragons are from space.
Oh yeah, we've known that forever. Midgard-Sormr came from another star.
One of the reflections, or a completely different star?
A completely different star.
It's true. We don't really know.
Yeah, but the implication has definitely been like completely separate from the source. Like Midgard-Sormr and Omega are from somewhere else. So that would be interesting if somehow the Fae were also from somewhere else.
I mean, because the Fae seem to have a similar otherworldly power to them than like the dragons do, and the Ascians do, and
the Ascians are from somewhere else.
Somewhere else, somewhen else.
Yeah. So the theme of this expansion is going to be you basically turn the lights off, and then you get to go to sleep. And when you go to sleep, you get to hang out with your pal, the Warrior of Darkness, once again.
Also,
and you're going to slowly learn things.
Speaking of Ardbert, getting the thing that you need to unlock Titania from the Amaro, the camel birds, that was the point where I started to really like Ardbert. Because their leader was Ardbert's mount, and remembers him fondly, and loved him, and it's very sweet.
It's super important to remember that everybody in the world blames Ardbert and his crew for everything that happened.
Yeah. So this is the first person you meet that actually knew him and remembers who he really was. It's like, and you remind him of Ardbert, like your willingness to help and your desire to help people out. And yeah, then you go to sleep and get to hang out with Ardbert again.
And then you're going to go try and meet up with Ishtola, who has been hanging out in a very specific zone that plays Lahi.
Yes. In the forest of Lagi.
That song is so great.
I love it though. I do.
It's so good. I think multiple of us turned off all of our mountain combat music so we could just hear
did
that.
While I was in that zone.
Yeah.
Yes.
That comic is amazing. That zone has hands down my favorite side quest.
Scree.
Scree!
Yeah, so basically this zone is a giant forest where the remnants of a cult that worshipped the dark hang out. It is also where this world's version of the Viera live, and they protect the remnants of the Ronkin Empire.
Which is, I think, this world's version of the Allagans.
Pretty much.
Or less.
If
the name sounds familiar, it's from FF5.
Yeah.
Less terrible empire.
Yeah. Like they don't
mildly.
They don't seem to have gotten up to the biomechanical horrors the Allagans did. Possibly because they didn't have enough time. I don't know.
Made really cool looking golems.
They did make cool looking golems and also cool looking gear.
But yeah, so there's a pair of side quest lines related to the Great Serpent of Ronka and assisting it in preventing like the destruction of the world. The Great Serpent is adorable, and it goes scree.
And it's tiny. I am hoping that's a thing that continues on.
That ridiculous quest?
Yes.
It really
I am
needs
hoping it really, like we get more, and like slowly we help the Great Serpent mature.
I hope that never happens.
Yeah.
I just want more tiny serpent adventures.
I mean, if it matures, it's probably going to grow under Archaeoavis, and we don't really want that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Also
there
that,
would be a primal fight. Or Guardian Force, as this game calls them.
Mm-hmm.
This expansion, we don't have primals anymore. We have Light Wardens, we have Guardian Forces.
If this Guardian Force sounds familiar,
with it.
That's from FF8.
This expansion borrowed a lot from FF8.
There's a lot of FF8 happening in this expansion.
I think Shiana mentioned this earlier, but like my favorite new tech that they added in is kind of a stupid one, but I love the label that pops up with the name of things. Like anytime you're fighting like something that's really just a badass, you get like the cool title screen.
The boss that's super cool.
This is also so before we head to the forest, we get a new friend.
Oh right.
Because this is when the dude that traveled here before us to act as the anchor on this side for the rejoining decides that, well, apparently we're messing it up and he needs to come talk to us. Emmett Silk has joined the party.
I mean, which admittedly, like at this point, we kind of know who Emmett Silk is because of quests towards the end of Stormblood.
We as players know who
the players know, but our character does not know.
Right.
Has never met him.
But he seems fine.
It's perfectly reasonable.
And
this is a perfectly cromulent decision.
So he shows up and basically puts all his cards on the table and is like, yeah, I want to make the worlds rejoin, and you're messing it up. So I'm going to, instead of trying to fight you or something, because we've seen how well that worked for my brothers, I'm going to try and like talk to you and like see if we can come to some sort of agreement.
Yeah, I want to see if I can convince you to join my side, because look, like I know you can murder Asians.
Yeah, that's a key point. Like we figured out how, well, actually, Moonbrita figured out how to permanently murder Asians.
Yeah, he's like, look, I don't want any part of that.
And Urianger even made another one of the things that we need to murder an Asian.
Because he figured we might run into one.
Yeah. So yeah, now we've got this dude like tagging along with us, whether we want to or not, being snarky and, telling us about how we're making a terrible decision. Because really, the rejoining would be great for everybody.
You don't seem to understand that the rejoining is actually great. And I'm like, you don't seem to understand that I will straight murder you, given half a chance.
I mean, I have to admit, I greatly enjoyed Emmett Silk.
He's an incredibly great character.
Yeah, he's a fantastic villain. He's great.
Like, he's probably one of my favorite video game villains, full stop now, at this point.
Yeah.
He's just so good. Because he hits that personal, and it's like, yes, this is world spanning, but also personal.
Mm-hmm.
And is not just straight up crazy like Kefka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's very good at sounding reasonable and making you wonder if, like, well, I mean, what have we been doing? What exactly is it that he's trying to do? And what would the actual repercussions be?
Does he know something we don't? Answer,
Yeah.
actually, yes.
Yes, he knows a lot of things we don't.
And is weirdly okay with telling us.
Yeah. He's the
He
person-
also has a large amount of confidence that we can't actually stop him.
Yeah.
Some might say overconfidence.
I mean, he's known about us for a while. He should really know better.
But he's never actually met us.
He thinks that he can take advantage of our willingness to help everybody to, turn us into
True.
what he needs.
We can't say no.
And it almost works, but for the power of friendship. But we're getting ahead.
Yeah. So basically in the forest, there's two key things that are happening. One, we are helping out the cult of the darkness in doing their stuff, and we're also trying to befriend the bunny people.
one of the cults of the darkness
Yeah,
is
the
important.
slightly less fanatical cult of the darkness.
Yeah, they're actually very reasonable and pleasant.
And the bunny people will straight up murder you if you get too close to them.
They're like, we are protecting the Ronkin Empire until their allies come. Are you their allies? And we say, yes, we're totally their allies.
Of course we are.
If someone asks if you're a god, you say yes.
We're here to help. And the bunny people were like, okay, you say, okay, let's do it.
Well, and mostly...
You have the magic
Have the magic
key.
pass. Yes.
It's true.
Yeah.
Turns out Y'shtola read a lot of the right books and was like, okay, they're looking for a prophecy. We can
We can make
make
that
it
happen.
happen.
And amusingly, over the course of this portion of the story, there are multiple opportunities to hit on Y'shtola.
Yes. All of them
Sounds like
delightful and
a
worth
bad
it.
idea.
No, 100% worth it.
She is highly amused by it every time.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I didn't want to be that guy.
I also
But
didn't
But like,
want to
there's
be
one
that guy.
point where it's they're taking advantage of the thing that they added in Shadowbringers, where they put you into first person view and have you like find something or whatever. You're trying to find this tablet in a place, and there are various things that like pop up as things that you can click on, and one of them is Y'shtola's rear end.
Yep.
I
was
didn't even
absolutely
notice
that lady.
that. I didn't even notice that.
Any opportunity to flirt with or sass Y'shtola as my character, I took.
Yep.
And I never I don't remember if it's the telescope bit where you how does she put it, where you inspect her bottom, or no, inspect her posterior. There it is. If you do, she's like, I know that if you're a male character and you do, she's like, there's nothing to be gained by looking at my posterior. And I don't remember if it's what she said for me, but it's either that scene or a different scene where she's like, are you checking me out? Huh. Interesting. It's like, oh.
I mean,
I'm fond of the one where I believe she threatens to spank you. That was pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
wow, I missed all of this.
Oh, yeah.
You did?
No, sassing
That's sad.
sassing
I did
Y'shtola
too.
is worth it. She's like, no, what is it?
No, she gives just as good as she gets.
Oh, yeah. No, it's great. Every opportunity to sass Y'shtola.
I just refrained because I remember what happened to the last person to flirt with Y'shtola.
I mean, yeah, she did destroy him utterly. And it was great. I'm here for it.
She seems more willing to entertain her new love interest in this expansion.
Runar does seem to have a thing for Y'shtola.
A little bit.
Like, doomed, but
Sure, yes, but at least she's not outright rejecting him.
no. She's not rejecting him in the cruelest imaginable way in public. So,
Because he doesn't deserve that.
yeah, he doesn't deserve it, and she knows it.
Magna deserved that.
Oh, yes.
Magna deserved it. Sadu will remember that.
So we head into the Ronkin Empire, the remains of the Ronkin Empire, once again chased by Tongiht.
The crazy monk dude from Yomor.
Yeah, who we have to fight again. And in the end, he and Y'shtola fall in a hole and die forever. Totally never going to see him
Unquote.
again.
I mean,
It's so sad.
Y'shtola's falling in the hole. That's like not the correct way to put what happened because it was kind of epic.
It was,
really
it
was.
was super epic.
Let's not call that just falling down a hole.
But yeah, basically we end up at this final standoff with the
a random Yulmoran soldier.
Yes, and the forces of Yulmor. Basically, the entire cult of Dark has been poisoned by the Yulmorans. Like, they're gonna die. But Ranjit totally has this antidote, and I'm trying to remember. Is he just willing to give it to us if we give him Minfilia? Was that the deal?
It was the random dude who had the antidote, and he's like, "Yeah, if you give us Minfilia, we'll give you this." And Ranjit's like, "Don't just deal with them. Just into the pit with you."
Yeah.
Still is like, "Wait, we need that," and jumps into the pit, throws it back to you, and then falls down the pit.
Yeah. And then there's a sudden blast of air from the pit, and then nothing. Silence.
And we totally believe we will never see either of these characters ever again. Cough, cough.
I appreciate 100% that they don't really even let you pretend to think that actually happened.
Yeah.
Like, from the word go, it's like, oh, strange gust of wind.
Say with words that,
Like, the characters
obviously
are really sad and think that she's gone forever, like that she's dead, but no.
Because our good new friend will help us.
Yeah. Well, so if you remember that, back in the day when we were running away from Ul'dah, she did a crazy thing that led to her going blind.
Completely undirected teleport.
Yeah, which led to her going blind and Thancred losing all connection to Ether. Well, she did that again.
Yeah, it was definitely great for her long-term health.
So she's stuck in the life flow again, and we got to figure out a way to get her out. But yeah, luckily we have a new friend who apparently knows exactly how to do that, because he's, powerful, eternal being, and he's willing to help, because he wants to be our buddy now.
I mean, for all of the annoying things that he is in fact a powerful eternal being.
It's true.
Yep, it's just a snap for him.
And the snap is giving her clothes back, so Alphino doesn't get any more ideas.
Yeah, because when you come back from the life flow, you come back naked, and there are no random squirrels handy around.
I also love that scene because she recoalesces, and Emmett Selch just turns away and with this look of utter disgust, and does the snap and is like, "No, look, here's your stupid clothes.
Here's your clothes back."
I'm tired of this nonsense. It's missing all it's missing is Alphino trying to peek around and Alcé just punching him. Which, P.S., that scene in Ilmeg was amazing.
Oh my gosh, the siblings were so good.
It was fun getting to run around with Alcé and Stormblood. It was way more fun getting to see the two of them bicker.
I do appreciate it when every so often Alphino gets the upper hand. It's rare.
I mean, his burn was super great. He just got assaulted for it. Oh, what an insufferable brat. No, it reminds me of my childhood.
But so we get Y'shtola back, and we also get to see some really cool murals in a cave, one of which shows Hydaelyn stomping on Zodiark, and Emmett Selch basically just it's oh yeah, that's from when we summoned Zodiark, and then Hydaelyn got summoned to stop him because they're totally both primals we summoned.
Yeah, we summoned those two. They're our primals.
You didn't know this? That's just
Well, yeah, I know this whole story. You can save some time trying to translate those etchings. I can just tell you.
Yeah, I was there. That was my city.
And at this point, it's still he's probably lying to us. He's probably lying to us. He's not, actually.
It's all the truth.
Yeah,
and he explains to us that they're back before all of this happened, before the world was split. All of this, the Ascians were they were the people that lived in the world, and the world started to end. This horrible chaos thing started destroying the world, and they summoned Zodiark to stop it. And is it at this point that he tells us what it took to summon Zodiark?
No, he never actually tells us that.
Okay,
he never tells us that.
Right.
And then some people decided that and so they summoned Zodiark, and Zodiark's a primal. So what do primals do? They temper you. And so from that point on, they were tempered.
And he's like, yeah, that's just a thing.
Yeah, he's that's how it is. And then some people decided that, that Zodiark was problematic, and they summoned Hydaelyn. Basically, there was a split, and some people were like, yeah, Zodiark's great. And others were like, no, this is bad.
This is a problem we have created here.
So they summoned Hydaelyn, and Hydaelyn stomped on Zodiark so hard that the world split into 14 pieces.
Yep.
And that's the world we live in.
And what all the Ascians have been trying to do is fix it.
They just want to put things back like they used to be, back when things were better.
And when they tried it the first time, they hadn't quite figured it out and accidentally turned one world into a lightless void.
Yeah, that's how the 13th was lost, was they attempted to call it trigger a rejoining, and it went too far.
Yeah, that was the other interesting thing, was the Emmett Selch talking about the 13th, where they're like, look, we're crazy powerful. It wouldn't be hard to just win by, like, you know, murdering Warriors of Light before they actually come into their power. The problem is we tried that, and it was a disaster. So now we have to be like subtle. We have to do like subtle planning, and it's kind of dumb, but we got to do it.
Yeah, because to trigger a rejoining, they have to tip one of the shards to an element and simultaneously cause a cataclysm on the main world that sort of links to that element.
So what was when they're saying it was a disaster? What exactly do we know what that means? Like, were they unsuccessful?
They thought that they didn't realize that the rejoining required both a calamity on the source and tipping the element of one of the other worlds all the way to one element or another. And they thought it was just the element thing, so they tipped it all the way to darkness, basically destroyed the entire world, and then nothing happened because there wasn't a corresponding calamity on the source to pull in all the energy.
Yeah, because that's necessary for the ether to be transferred to the source. So from that point on, they started, triggering calamities and having something on the source happen to link up to it. So that, the flood was the water calamity and the earthquake being the earth calamity and so forth.
Bahamut was apparently the darkness calamity. Once they did it right, I guess.
Yeah. And so this calamity is supposed to be a calamity of light, which by this point we learned in Ilmeg that astral and umbral are kind of like the way the terms are used is reversed here. But basically, light is stasis and dark is activity. So tipping all the way to light means just a complete stasis of ether. Everything becomes still. And so something would have to happen on the source that starts to cause like an ongoing stasis of ether. Well, there's this chemical weapon. Turns out how it kills is it places the victim's ether into stasis. Basically, their body just stops. So the intent is the first gets tipped to light, and this chemical weapon, the Black Rose, is released in the source. And that triggers the calamity and basically kills almost everybody on the source as the Black Rose just goes wild.
And rejoining.
And then there's a rejoining, and it's fine because this is the last rejoining they need anyway to tip the balance far enough to free Zodiark. And once Zodiark is free, they can fix everything.
Quote unquote, fix everything.
Quote unquote, fix everything, which means destroying all of the races that have come to the worlds in the time since they came.
Yes.
Because they want to do a genocide.
Yes, because those are only fragments of the real people from before anyway, and it'll all be fine.
They want
this is why we don't let them do their thing.
Yes.
I mean, at least we understand their plan now, but it's also like you want to do a genocide and you don't think that we're actually real people, so
no, we're going to straight stop you. Like, yes, I understand everything you just said. Also, that doesn't change the eventual outcome that's happening here.
Well, and it's sometime around this point that we learn the true nature of Vothri.
That's a little bit later.
We've got a little bit still because our next stop is to go back to where Minfilia stopped the flood.
Right, because we don't know where we're hunting Light Wardens. Yeah. We've known where they were, but we don't know where the ones in Yulmor or in Kalusia or Amarang are.
Yeah.
And some, the Oracle of Light could find them if she were like in full control of her powers, but she's not, so...
Yeah, because basically Minfilia has a choice to make, where she can either take on her full power or walk away. And if she takes on her full power, that means that the Minfilia we knew, what is left of her, no longer exists.
Just gets absorbed.
Yeah. Like, honestly, it makes me think of Steven Universe. Like, it's kind of that, you know? But yeah, so there will the old Minfilia will no longer exist, which that's part of what Thancred has kind of been trying to prevent. Like, he's not going to actively, like, push Minfilia away from taking on that power, but he kind of wishes she wouldn't, because he wants his Minfilia back. But the only way we're going to find the Light Wardens is for Minfilia to get her full power, so she can track them.
One way or another.
So that's where we're headed next. And mostly this part of the story is about getting a tram working.
It's pretty great. This actually dragged on for way longer than it needed to.
It kind of did.
This dragged on for longer than it needed to, but I loved the music.
It's also what tells us very clearly that, oh yeah, this is the area around Horizon.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's a thing that you pick up as you're going through the world, and I think we've talked about this before, where, like, this world is very similar to the world of the Source. Like, you can tell at some point they were the same place, and they just changed over time. So there's clear destination points. So basically, where the flood happened was at the Waking Sands in this world.
Not quite like that. It's closer to the end of Southern Thanaland, but even so.
But pretty close, yeah. But it's at the end of a big tram line, so yeah.
We had to go back to the Waking Sands
one last time.
And mostly I think the point of this whole storyline, apart from, you know, rebuilding the tram and everything, is it's more reforging of bonds and getting people working together again. Because the town that you come into where, you know, you have to deal with people was this town founded by, I can't remember the first versions of their names, but by a bunch of Mikote and Hrothgar. And
so I agree that I agree that this portion of Amarang drags on, but I also feel like it's doing so much. It's hard for me to be mad about it because it's doing so much careful setup for later. And payoff from earlier. Because it's paying off all of those times when Thancred was a giant asshole to Minfilia and, like, actually calling him out on it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, hasn't really happened up until that point.
Well, and it's also like the first time that you as a character has spent a significant amount of time with Minfilia.
Yeah.
Because, like, you spend a lot of this zone just wandering around with her, half protecting her, half her tagging along. So, like, I think a lot of this is basically you helping her through this decision she has to make. So it's definitely this is the calm before the storm moment where, like, okay, we're going through these events, and really after this things start to escalate quickly.
Yeah, like after this, like we're in the home stretch at that point. But yeah, there is very much like, because she hasn't decided what she's going to do. Like, we're going to go to the place where the Oracle stopped the flood, and then she's going to have a choice to make, and she's not sure yet. And so, yeah, this is her dealing with that, and also, yeah, Thancred working through his issues finally.
And you do, and asshole monk guy is waiting for you.
Because somehow he got out of the pit. How? We don't know.
Surprise.
They don't tell us.
Whatever.
Maybe he can fly.
He's super tough.
Yeah. I totally understand the fight as Thancred. Thancred's like, you know, go on without me. I'll hold him off. And, like, you get dad fight.
Old dad versus new dad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, old terrible dad versus new terrible dad. And, like, I actually really liked the Thancred fight just because you get that feeling of desperation. Because Thancred is just outmatched.
Yeah.
And
like,
so for so much of that fight, it definitely feels like you're just kind of barely hanging on by a thread.
Yeah.
Thancred is outmatched. He's using a potion to try to keep himself remote. Like, he is digging into his rogue bag of tricks.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He is always prepared.
But yeah, he's digging deep in his bag of tricks.
Also, he's low on bullets because he can't make his own. Because he has no connection to his ether.
Yeah. The whole severed from his ether thing.
Yeah, he lost all of his crafting classes. That is one detail that they bring up a few times that I was like, that's like, hey, crafting is an actual thing using like magic crystals. And it's not, oh, these magic crystals are, just the resource. Like, no. You actually are making magic paint that you use to magically paint stuff. If you can't do that, you can't make magic paint.
Mm-hmm.
Also, because paint is magic, if all you can see is magic, turns out that's not actually that bad. Like, yeah, Y'shtola's blind, but literally nothing is not made with magic, so she can just magic sense all the time.
Like, yeah, it doesn't look the same as it used to, but she can get around pretty well.
Yeah. It's a world building detail that I really like, because it's easy to forget that this is a crazy high magic world.
All of magic, all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Minfilia talks to... New Minfilia talks to old Minfilia and makes a choice, and her choice is to accept her power. And also, when she does this, she gets to stop having, like, creepy glowing eyes and blonde hair.
She still has kind of creepy eyes, let's be honest.
I mean, but they're not glowing.
Yes, they're not creepy glowing eyes with, like, basically no pupils.
She gets to have pupils.
Yeah. She still has tremendous weird eyes. But, whatever, that's not out of the realm of normal here.
And we also decided she should get a name of her own.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is a good idea. Person. I mean, the name of her own is a good idea. Sourcing it from the Fae, maybe less so, but whatever. Fine, I'm sure.
This is also when, via the Echo, we get to see exactly what happened when Minfilia stopped the flood, and how the Warriors of Light all, like, joined their souls to the process. And then when Ardbert tried to, she pushed him away.
Yeah, Minfilia was like, no, you don't get to. But it wouldn't tell him why.
It's basically like, you still have something to do. And so basically Ardbert's been, sulking about that for 100 years.
Yeah, which, admittedly, can't blame him. When a purported ally won't tell me the whole truth, I get mad.
Yeah, but also, all of his friends got to rest, and he doesn't get to.
Yeah, about that though. It's not really resting.
Well, their souls are resting. It's just that their bodies got changed up.
Yeah, I'm kind of unclear on that, because there's clearly, like, something left of them there, because in each case, like, who they used to be is, why they're doing whatever it is they're doing.
Little fragments.
But yeah. But yeah, most of what they are is long gone.
And then it's back to Yulmore, which is somehow worse than everything we've seen.
Yeah, we beat up a Light Warden here real quick, but it's just like, okay, yeah, now there's the Light Warden. It's in an old well. Let's go beat it up.
Yeah.
Also, there's a golem with buckets on its hands.
I love that golem. That golem is so great. That golem is my friend.
That was the mask Light Warden, right?
Yeah, the mask and feathers.
It was the Light Warden that was hiding. This is also the first point at which we realized that maybe this is not going to work out well for us.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have a bad reaction.
We have a bad reaction. Like, we have heard...
But we had a hint earlier.
Yeah, at this point, we've overheard a conversation between Y'shtola and Urianger, where Y'shtola's like, hey, you realize that the Warrior of Light's ether is really messed up. And he's like, it's fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. And she's like, you know something and you're not telling people. And it's like, it's fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. And
yeah. Well, and when we first found Y'shtola in the forest, like,
she recognized us.
She was basically like, that is some sort of new sin eater. And they were like, no, it's us. Hi.
Yeah, you're like, hi, and she's like, what?
What are you?
Yeah, and that was weird.
You can also say Kupo instead of saying hi.
It's true.
Yes, I did.
I did.
I got chastised by Thancred for not taking the situation seriously enough.
I'd do it again.
Yep. But yeah, so basically, the Blessing of Light hasn't been preventing us from absorbing the light or anything. It's just been preventing it from having the normal effect on us. But now we've absorbed 4 Light Wardens worth of light. That's a lot.
And we hear a shattered glass effect as we double over in some sort of weird pain.
A very distressingly familiar sort of weird pain.
Yeah, things aren't going well.
Yeah. But we're almost done. There's just one more. We get rid of one more and it's all cool. And the last one is in Yulmore, somewhere in the city. So we go to invade Yulmore.
And hey, maybe it's the giant lion sin eater that Vothri's always hanging around with.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Yeah, because he's got this giant lion with a crown on it, and like some lady sin eaters that like lounge around.
I mean, like, and light wardens control sin eaters, right? So if they can control sin eaters in Yulmore, they must be holding the light warden there somewhere.
Yeah, like clearly that's what happened. He got a hold of a light ward and is somehow like able to control it. So we invade and we fight. He's got these two jesters that are the ones that come out and like give people the food and recruit people. And we fight them, and I was very disappointed that they didn't merge together into a horrible, terrifying melted Gemini.
I was going to say they gave me serious FF9 feels, but they didn't actually merge.
Because I assumed that was going to happen, and no.
Yeah, they're just badly misled people.
Yeah. So, I mean, red and blue jester.
You also get to find out at this point what the Soylent Green actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Ground up light or ground up sin eaters.
Yeah, because all of the people around Yulmore are like under Vothri's control now. They're like just under his complete control, and so they're fighting against you as you're trying to invade Yulmore. And yeah,
they've been eating the sin eater, so whatever this control over sin eaters is, it affects them too.
Mm-hmm. Soylent Green is zombies, and so we fight our way up. And as per usual, we start out with a bunch of our friends with us, and at each stage, one or two of them stay behind to hold off the hordes of mind-controlled people. And then a monk asshole shows up again, because of course he does. And this time he merges with his dragon, because that's a thing he can do. And we fight him, and I guess he's actually dead now.
Yep, we kill him pretty dead.
I don't know if I trust him.
Somewhat more dead, anyway.
But this is when he starts like ranting about like all the girls that he's sent to their dooms and all of that. So yeah, like he also has dad issues. And then we reach to the top where Vothri is pigging out
and is eating all of the sin eater.
Like he's just shoveling it into his face
until Reen lets us in that he is the actual sin eater.
Vothri is the light warden.
Vothri is a light warden.
And then tiny wings pop out of his shoulders and he flies away. Somehow
they work.
Physics doesn't exist in Magic World.
When pigs fly.
Because he's huge. Like, he's this massively huge, just...
bloated
figure. Yeah, just two tiny little wings.
It is surprising that he can walk, and therefore even more surprising that his two tiny little wings can carry him somewhere.
Yeah, so he flies off north to Mount Golg, which rips itself out of the earth and lifts up into the sky. So now we've got to figure out a way to get up there.
Can I just take this opportunity to mention that I am so sad that they didn't manage to find a remix of the Mount Golg music anywhere in this expansion? I get that also they didn't use it as a volcano, but even so.
And the problem is like Northern Kalusia, there's no way to get up there. Like, it's this massive plateau. There used to be an elevator that you could take, but it hasn't worked in forever. Like, you would need robots to power it, and it's just in horrible condition, and it's like, what are we going to do? And this is when, with a little bit of prompting, the citizenry of Yulmore step up.
P.S. I quite like that. That is a great Alphino moment.
Alphino tries to use diplomacy once again, except this time on people that actually listen.
And who, like, finally, like, truly see the horror of what they have been doing for years.
Well, and, like, I kind of wonder, is it that they're actually realizing it on their own, or is it just that they're no longer in the thrall of Vothri?
It seems like it's a little bit of both. Like, the
Alphino also goes into that as part of his speech.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, look, you don't get to blame him.
Because they all came there on their own, and then they ate the food, so it's both, yeah.
Yeah, like, Vothri made it easier, but, like, every single one of them made a choice. But as it turns out, the citizens of Yulmore whom Alphino entered into the service of to try and, to find a way into the city and everything, are the former head of the company that made all the robots and his wife. And between Alphino's speech and the wife being like, oh yeah, no, he's brilliant, he can totally do it, and you're going to help, right, dear? Like, he agrees to get the thing working again.
And you do. It's great. And then you have the part that I actually think goes on a little bit long.
But dwarves.
I mean, the dwarves are great.
Like, it involves dwarves, so I didn't mind too much. But yeah.
Lolly ho.
I mean, the only side quests I did were the ones that continued from the Ether quest, so I didn't find it dragged that long.
That's fair. That was the first point where I got very level locked.
Yeah, 50... The point where you need to be 58 was the first point that I actually had to go back and find some stuff to do. Yeah, so now we're up on the plateau, but we've still got to figure out a way to get up on that mountain that is flying now.
And also has a bunch of flying angel-like things that are willing to attack anything that comes close. So maybe not an airship. We haven't met this world Sid anyway.
Yeah, the only airships in this world are basically luxury yachts, apparently. They wouldn't be very good for this sort of assault.
But we have these crazy robot things called Talos.
And we have the dude that knows the most about them. So what if we built a really, really big one to reach up and grab the mountain?
Because that totally makes a good idea.
Seems like a fine idea to me.
Also, it's at this point that we realize that Talos aren't crafted per se. They're just kind of raised from the earth.
I mean, you just put the nice ones that you want to last for a while.
Yeah, this one is very clearly intended to do a job, and then after that it can fall apart. It's going to be a while before it falls apart, but it's going to eventually.
It's going to cause a lot of problems when it starts to fall apart.
Nah, no, that part of the zone is off the map. Nobody lives there.
Okay.
It's fine. But yeah, so in the process of this, we befriend the dwarves, because this is where they live, and they're awesome.
We also befriend a town full of exiles that got kicked out of Yulmore.
Yeah, the people that managed to get out of there without getting turned into sin eaters and then ground up for food apparently escaped up here with the help of the dwarves.
Or survived the fall, or escaped.
There's a lot of what ifs to get up there at that point, but several people did.
Yeah, so in fact, some of the side quests that you get to do up here involve kind of helping out the people in this town, and now that Yulmore has been freed of Vothri, helping them get back in touch with people and stuff. And
there's
also,
a lot of making amends quests.
Yeah, and also a few of the rich people feel really, really terrible about what they did and really want to try and make up for it somehow. And so you also get the opportunity to assist with that.
Which, good, they should.
Mm-hmm.
But to their credit, they do, and they're look, we did awful things.
Yeah, I do feel like they did a good job of those basically being, I did terrible, terrible things and I cannot make up for them. All I can do is apologize and
try to maybe do better.
Make amends.
Yeah.
There's at least one I can remember where basically you tell them to go shove it.
Yeah, I mean, people have strongly differing opinions about this thing, and appreciate that.
So, long story short, we raised a giant golem, we grabbed a hold of the mountain, and now we have to go up there.
To find the final light warden and destroy it. Which means fighting our way past a whole bunch of other sin eaters, including that lion dude with the crown, which Thancred and Reen mention how it feels like old times if you're doing it in a trust with them in your party, because the intro movie for this expansion shows them running away from that thing. But yeah, you fight Vothri, and you fight your way through the dungeon and fight Vothri's consort or whatever.
Yep.
And then Vothri himself is a trial. He's an 8-man.
Well, and Vothri's consort, we're pretty sure is a singer you meet along the way in a Yulmore quest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's a side quest in Yulmore where it's a singer who has lost her voice, and if she doesn't have her voice, then she can no longer do the thing that she was brought in here for. So
this is actually a main story quest. They make you do this.
Is it main?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't get to skip that.
But yeah, and you basically you can't help her. She sends you to try and get medicine for it, and the dude's this, there's nothing I can do for her. Sorry. So yeah, the implication is she got turned, once she was no longer useful, she was turned into a sin eater.
Well, so the patron gives up his space in the chosen land, basically, to give it to her. Not knowing what this means yet.
Yeah.
Oops, they turned her into a sin eater. Also, probably going to snack on her later. It's awful.
Mm-hmm. So then you fight Then you fight Vothri, who does his transformation before the fight even starts. And unlike most Final Fantasy villains, he gets prettier.
That's in the middle of the fight in normal.
You're right, it is in the middle. Because you do fight him,
He does the usual thing. He's summoning something. Fight Vothri. He goes from being kind of a blob of a person to a blonde-haired pretty boy, which is, yes, the opposite of how this usually works.
He turns into an angel with swords for wings, and then you beat him up, and then the Echo tells you how, he ended up being this thing, and it was all Emmett Selk's fault.
Surprise!
Because of course it was.
Because, 30 years ago, when Vothri's mom was pregnant with him, Emmett Selk showed up and offered Vothri's dad a deal where he would give his heir the power to control the Sin Eaters. And so, and at that point, I do have the tiniest smidge of sympathy for Vothri because he never had a chance.
Yeah, no.
No.
He had a choice.
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know if he did.
He was born a Light Warden.
I mean, he was still human enough to make decisions.
Oh yeah, no, all of that stuff was horrible.
Look, I don't have any actual sympathy for him.
He got dealt a bad hand, but also was terrible.
So you remember earlier when we said there was the pain and the glass breaking sound? Some stuff happens when you absorb
that.
The final Light Warden.
But we should probably get to that at a part 2.
Yeah.
As we've gone well over
way long.
It's true.
And there's still a really long...
There's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to go.
There really is.
Because we're about to get to some revelation.
Considering that there's only about 1 to 2 actual levels left worth of leveling gameplay, there is a lot of story.
Yes.
Yeah, this is where everything comes together and we find out what it's all really been about.
Yep.
And when I say what it's all really been about, I mean all from the beginning of A Realm Reborn.
Yup.
Yup.
Okay. Well,
it's crazy.
We will close things off here and pick up next week for part 2. Because, we still have a lot to talk about. And about 30 minutes ago, I was like, I have no idea how we're going to wrap this up at any point.
Yeah, there's so much left to go, and I don't want to rush it.
Yeah.
Because it's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week.
Unless you haven't played it, in which case...
Sorry.
At some point in the future?
See you in the future.
Eventually we'll be talking about something else.
We got something else to talk about now.
We do.
It's true.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
See you.